it's like I took a TV from 1995 and I got a 2023 OLED TV now, the way I look at life. It's just, everything's so crisp and clear all the time, from 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when I wake up until 11 o'clock at night. I'm happy right now. And then something clicked and it got addicting to see what I could do on it and to prove. Everybody I talked to told me it wasn't going to work and I was going to have a heart attack and my cholesterol was going to go up and everything like that. And it got in my head so bad that I wanted to prove everybody so wrong. I think everybody thinks I'm crazy. In the beginning, everybody was asking how I'm doing. And I told them, or we'd go out to dinner with another couple or we'd have people over and I'd make a bunch of meat and they'd watch me eat all this meat. And they're like, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense.
Demetrios, welcome. I guess if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about where you came from and what you did and what you do and how things happen for you.
Okay. At about the age of 14, I herniated a disc in my back, L5S1. From then on, I became more immobile to joining sports and things like that because of the pain. And slowly, weight started adding up. And then I think around when I was 18 years old, 4 years later, I got in a car accident and herniated 2 more. So the 2 above that one. So L4, L5, L3, whatever, which made it even harder, worse to get along and to move. On top of that, eating bad, the standard American diet, a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar. The weight just kept on stacking on. Then around 2014, so I was 25, 26 years old, I finally had back surgery. Started regaining some of the motion and being able to move a lot better. But shortly after, we started having kids, which then impacted our way of eating and everything that we were doing. I couldn't work out anymore. I couldn't focus on anything and eating just a bunch of garbage again. I had always ate bad. Then I would try to get on some type of diet. Embarrassingly enough, I even tried Weight Watchers to try to lose some weight because I was in 2016, I was close to 320 at the time. Okay. Wow. Whatever, I was trying anything to just try to lose some weight. And a dream of mine was to be 280 at that time. I thought that would be the answer. If I could get down to 280, I'd be happy. But in 2018, I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. They put me on 2 different blood pressure pills. One was a 20 milligram. The other one was a 25 milligram. So pretty high amount. And still my blood pressure was out of control. I was in the 150s, 160s, even in the morning, just first waking up. Then I had an AFib event. I was hospitalized for a couple of days with. Thankfully, it resolved itself before they had to intervene. And then from then on, for about a year and a half, I went on a salt-free, super lean meat, no red meat diet. And everything got worse. I gained more weight. Whatever weight I had lost, I gained it again. I was back up to 315 again. I felt terrible. My allergies were out of control at that point. Energy was terrible. Inflammation pain from my back. I'm a mechanic by trade. So just the pain in my wrists, my elbows, my shoulders, everything. It was just every morning was a struggle to get out of bed with all the pain.
Demetrios, let me interrupt you here. How old were you at this point? Because you couldn't have been much, maybe 30 or something like that?
I was about 32.
So you're over 300 pounds. You've had real high blood pressure. You've had back surgery. You're obese. You're overweight. And you're in chronic pain, basically, at this point, right? Yeah. Okay.
And then I felt terrible. I always wanted to do something. And I was trying to convince myself to try to do keto. And I was just I was reading stuff. You read all the adverse stuff. That's what you start with. What could come bad from this and everything like that. And I let that get to my head and I backed away from trying to even go that route. And I just kept on with what the doctors wanted me to do, stopped eating salt, did all that. And every day I just felt terrible.
Did it help your blood pressure at all? Because this is
not.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, when you go on the DASH diet, which is a dietary intervention for hypertension, is low salt. And like you're saying, lean meat, low fat, low salt. And it didn't help at all for you.
It didn't. My blood pressure was still in the 150s and 160s. And when I would go to the doctor and they would take it, they're like, oh, we're just going to up the medicine. I'm like, I don't want to be on this medicine. Is there a way? At that time, I just wanted to be off medicine and figure out a way to do it. And I thought by eating the way that they wanted, we had bought those high blood pressure cookbooks. and nothing was working. And in 2021-ish time, I was talking with my neighbor, and he told me how he was following along on CarnivoreDiet. Okay. He told me I should try it. It might help me lose weight. It might help me feel better and get all the inflammation pain out, and just good for me in general.
What does your neighbor do? Is he just a regular dude, or what is he?
Yeah, he owns. It's actually my neighbor next door to my shop. He owns a plastics manufacturing plant.
Okay, so not a doctor, not somebody that's like an authority on health, just a regular guy off the street said, "Hey, man,"
a regular guy who had high cholesterol and was taking statins and went on the carnivore diet, got off of it. Cholesterol leveled out. His doctor couldn't believe it. And I was like, you know what? If it worked for his cholesterol, why can't it work for blood pressure? Why can't it work for everything else? Okay. And he said his inflammation pain had gone away and everything like that. I watched your podcast on Joe Rogan. I got your book. I started researching a lot. And in 2022, towards the end of February, it was my 36th birthday. We had cake, pizza, pop, all the garbage. And that night, my heart was racing. I took my blood pressure. It was like 172. It was like, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to put myself in the grave before anything else can. And I got 3 little kids. That's what I kept on looking at. So at the end of the month, my wife was fasting for Greek Easter. So you don't eat meat or anything like that. And I told her, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm not going to eat anything but meat. And it was hard. The first 2-3 weeks were hard. I used pretty much keto rules to introduce it. And then slowly I started with 20 grams of carbs a day and then cut it all the way down to a few months in at 0. And at that time, I went and got blood work done, physical done in June that year. I had lost by that time, I think about 35, 40 pounds. And I had already weaned off of one of the blood pressure pills. And the second one, I was starting to wean off that one. And the doctor was in disbelief because I was like hesitant to tell him what my diet was. I told him I was following like a keto, but more meat. And he was looking at me and I'm like, you know what? I'm just eating red meat. That's it. I eat red meat, a lot of salt, butter, eggs, and water. It's my diet and it's working. And it continued on. And at that time I was like 270, I think then. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm happy right now. And then something clicked and it got addicting to see what I could do on it and to prove everybody I talked to told me it wasn't going to work and I was going to have a heart attack and my cholesterol was going to go up and everything like that. And it got in my head so bad that I wanted to prove everybody so wrong and do so good for myself. And here I am like 15 months later, 130 pounds down, no medication. At any moment, if I take my blood pressure, it's under 120. It's phenomenal.
Wow, that's amazing. Because you went from 320, so you're down around 200 or 190.
Right now I'm 182.
Wow, you almost cut your weight in half. It was pretty close.
Yeah.
What about all the pain you're having? The back pain, the AFib, or the arrhythmias and things like you had? The AFib, I only had it that one time, thank God, and it's never happened again. I've never felt any skipped beats beyond that. But the inflammation pain, I get up every morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I have no more pain. Wow, that's got to feel good.
It's phenomenal. And then anytime I do feel any kind of pain or I feel like I pull a muscle or some kind of injury while I'm working, before it would be lingering for weeks. You know, like a simple roll your ankle, it would like for a week, it would hurt. Now it's like 48-hour recovery for any kind of pain. It feels great. Even when you lift heavy and you expect to be hurting for a couple of days and the next day you're ready to lift the same weight again. It feels good.
Yeah, that's so awesome. There's a question about your back surgery. What did they do? A fusion? Did they do a discectomy? Or what did they do?
It was a microdiscectomy and a laminectomy on L4, L5, L5S1.
Okay, so no hardware in there or anything like that.
No.
So how does the back feel these days?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels, besides all the weight off of it, now the inflammation's down on it. I have a lot more motion, like free range movement. And now that I'm way more active, like I either roll or ride a bike every day. I lift every other day. It's changed everything in my life.
So now that you're down at fully 130 pounds, does your doctor is he still, what the heck's going on here? Or is he like saying,
I haven't gone back for my physical this year. I'm going to go back in like a couple weeks. I just can't wait to see the look on his face.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I think you should let him know. Okay, this is because it's definitely improved your quality of life tremendously.
Oh yeah.
What about your neighbor, man? The guy that lives in the shop next to you. Was he watching this the whole time since he had told you? How did that go?
Yeah, in the beginning I told you it's going to work. And he used to joke around and call me fat all the time. And he's like, come on, fat boy, and push me to do it. And it was funny enough that 6 months in, I had lost 70, 80 pounds at the time. And he just had started dating a girl and went off carnivore because they were going out to dinner all the time and everything like that. And he slowly started building back again, 20 pounds. So now I call him fat boy. But he's back on the carnivore diet and he's doing good again.
So do you guys have barbecues together after that?
Yeah, you know what? It's every day when I go home, I cook a bunch of ground beef and we split some ground beef for lunch every day.
Nice. Awesome. That's good to hear. And what about your wife, the one that was no meat on Greek Easter? And is she obviously had to notice. I'm sure she cooked.
Oh yeah, she noticed. She couldn't, she was in disbelief, but she sees me every day. So every day I looked a little bit different, but not in a huge way. But when we look back at pictures and then you look now, or I'm going through the closet and I put on a shirt, I was wearing 3X shirts before. Now I'm down a large medium. I put one of those shirts on and I'm like, can you believe that I wore this and this was tight? And now I'm just swimming in it. She couldn't believe it. She's pretty much low carb now. She doesn't want to fully jump into all meat yet, but we got her down to low carb. There's no more remaining garbage in the house for the kids to eat. So everybody's doing a lot better.
Yeah, I forgot about so the kids. Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times you get kids and for convenience, you buy all these cheap snacks and then you eat some of them. And it really is. And when the kids have a crappy diet, usually the parents have a crappy diet. So you got to go as a family. Did you notice any differences in the kids' behavior or health when you started cleaning up their diet?
When their diet, the more meat there was around, the more meat they wanted to eat. You put up a piece of steak in front of them, they're going to eat all the steak first before they touch anything else, it's great. You make bacon and eggs, they die for that before they want pancakes and waffles and stuff like that. It's odd to see the kids, primal instincts is to just run to the meat over everything else. If there's no meat around or a little bit of meat and it's chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, it's easier for them to grab that than anything. So,
how old are the kids, or how many do you have?
5, 6, and 7.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So you got them all pretty packed in there pretty tight. Yeah. Yeah. So that's they're fun ages too. As far as, blood pressure's back to normal. You're not on any medications at all now?
None at all. None.
Yeah. That's got to feel good. Did the medications did you have some side effects with some of those meds?
The medications had me feeling drained all day. It would drop at some times of the day, it would drop my blood pressure so low that you go to get up and you feel dizzy. And then at other times, the blood pressure was so high, you were dizzy and had a headache from that. It was so unregulated, even with the medication. Every day just felt terrible on it. And then I had a really weird side effect where I was my fingers and my feet were cold all the time. And with our climate here, and I work half indoors, half outdoors in the wintertime, I couldn't feel my fingers all winter when I was on that medication. Now that's all gone. It's a huge change and help.
Yeah. What about, obviously, when you're 300 plus pounds and your back, everything hurts and you get high blood pressure? What was your mood and your mental function, your cognitive abilities? Did you notice any changes from where you were there till now?
Cognitively wise, it's like I took a TV from 1995 and I got a 2023 OLED TV now, the way I look at life. Everything's so crisp and clear all the time, from 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when I wake up until 11 o'clock at night. If we're up doing something with the kids, it's just the energy's there, the focus is there, and the clearness in vision in my mind and thought is always there. I don't forget. I had a good memory before, but now it's doubled in its capacity, which is really good for my work because I take a lot of stuff apart and have to remember how to put it all back together. But it's helped a lot.
Yeah, it's good. If you take an engine apart and all of a sudden there's 4 extra screws or something like that. Wait a minute, where'd all those come from? So let me ask you, because you've been doing this for how long now? About a year or something like that?
15 months.
15 months. And so a lot of people, they get there and then they try to add various things in there. Sometimes it's like fruit, sometimes it's honey or rice or anything like that. Have you attempted to reintegrate other foods back into the diet? And if so, how has that gone?
Yeah, about halfway through, I got the sweet tooth feeling back. So I started eating raw honey and I would have a little spoon every night just to get a taste in my mouth. And then after a week, it wasn't like, oh, I need or I want a little bit of honey. It was like, I need a little bit of honey after I eat dinner. Like my body was like programming itself. You need that honey, you need it. And then the spoon started getting bigger and bigger again. And I was like, what am I doing? And I started noticing joint pain started coming back. And I started feeling just like bouts of like tiredness in the middle of the day again. Cut all the honey back out, got back off, everything reversed within like 2 weeks, was like back to my like new level. And then one day I wanted an apple. Just the kids were eating apples. I was like, you know what? I want an apple too. I sliced up an apple. I ate it. And within like 20, 30 minutes, I had like sugar to like shakes, like a sugar spike shake. And it was like it was the most uncomfortable feeling for that little satisfaction of eating an apple. And I couldn't believe that happened. So a couple of weeks later, I tried it again. I tried like an orange and everything. It was always the same thing. Within half an hour, this like sugar shake spike feeling, and then a crash like hours later where I was just hungry for a couple of days. All I wanted to do was eat. And I tried, I had some honey again, maybe like a month or two ago, though everybody got strep in the house. So I was having honey with garlic to try to clear it up without having to take medication. And just that little taste of honey got me back onto, oh man, I want honey. And within a week, all the pain's back and I feel like garbage again. I skipped right back off of it.
Okay, interesting. That's interesting how some people seem to be able to incorporate things and some people don't. And I'm not sure why. Probably being 300 and 320 pounds or whatever you were, you probably have some level of insulin resistance. You probably don't metabolize carbohydrates pretty well. And that's one of those things where it can be a problem for people. And I know there's people out there that says that you have to have carbs in your diet. Do you believe you have to have carbohydrates in your diet?
No, not at all. Everybody tells me that. Everybody argues with me that you need it. You need carbohydrates. How is your body functioning? How can you? I work 10, 12 hours a day, go home, we go bike riding, go work out, go play with the kids. The energy is never ending and I have zero carbohydrates. So explain to me why you need them. Oh, you need them to build muscle. I'm building muscle without them. I'm maintaining muscle without them. I don't see why they're needed. Yeah. I don't believe they're needed.
Yeah, for you too. I'm the same way. I don't need them. I don't use them. I have no problem maintaining or building muscle as well. What about a lot of people will say, oh, this is too expensive. Meat is super expensive. And what do you say to that? Is your diet more expensive than it used to be or less expensive or about the same? Or what are your thoughts? Whenever
a friend or somebody asks me about it, the first thing I tell them is to just start with ground beef. There's a store near my house. You get grass-fed ground beef. It's like $3.99 a pound usually. At the most, they sell for $5.99 a pound. It's cheap. You eat 2 pounds a day, it's $6, $7. You can't get cheaper than that when you spend $7 for a coffee, and I eat for an entire day on that. And primarily, I eat ground beef, so it's kept the budget down on food a lot. Once a week, I'll have a steak, or we'll have lamb or some pork mixed in with the beef here and there, and eggs. The eggs are the most expensive part, I would think, even over the beef to get good eggs, because you're about $10 a dozen. You need 6 at a time. It's a good amount of money and just eggs. Yeah.
How much, like I said, how tall are you, by the way? Because I know you said you were 320. How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
5'8", 3'2". You're a pretty round guy at the time. Okay. So now you're back down to 185 or something like that. How much, so what does a typical day of food look like for you?
Every day intermediate fast. So my first meal of the day is around 12, 1 o'clock. At that point, I'll have about a pound or so of ground beef. I'll probably make 4 burgers or 2 big ones, however I decide to make them the night before. And then when I go home, I'll make some more. I'll either have another half pound of ground beef and 6 eggs, or I'll have another pound of ground beef. It's not exactly a pound. Sometimes it's a pound, 1.2, 1.3. It's whatever, how the package comes. I don't exactly count. And that's another thing I argue with people about. They're like, how many calories are you eating a day? I don't know. I just know how many pounds about I'm eating a day. And that's all I count.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's, as far as some people will say, it's not exciting. It's a boring diet. Are you getting bored of the food, or you enjoy it every meal, or how do you look forward to it?
In the beginning, in my head, it was boring, but my stomach wasn't bored with it. It filled me up. I felt good. I kept going. as time went on, we would go to a birthday party and there'd be pizza and cake and all that. And all I could think about was, man, I got 4 more burgers at home in the fridge. I can't wait to go home and eat those burgers. People are like, oh, you want to just eat the cheese off the pizza? And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to satisfy me. It's just going to ruin what I've been doing. I'm like, I'll just wait till I get home. I'm like, all I care about is that red meat at home that I have. And now that's all I crave. If I have a piece of chicken, I have to have beef with it because there's no satisfaction with it.
Yeah, beef is uniquely satisfying, isn't it? Something I know it's like nothing satisfies like beef. I think there used to be a campaign slogan about that. I think there's a lot of truth to that. What about, so, like you said, you still have a social life, you go see friends, I don't know if you go to church and things like that. Does anybody think this guy, you're crazy, or do they ever go, what the heck are you doing, and that type of stuff?
I think everybody thinks I'm crazy because in the beginning, everybody was asking how I'm doing, and I told them, or we'd go out to dinner with another couple, or we'd have people over, and I'd make a bunch of meat, and they watch me eat all this meat, and they're like, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. And slowly, there's a couple of my friends, they started doing it. My buddy had really good success. He was about a 190. Now he's down to 160, 155, real lean. And a couple of my other friends have started it. They've lost like 15, 20 pounds in the first month. I went from being you're crazy to tell me how you did it. Give me the road that you took to do it. And I try to help anybody who asks me. I give them all the information. I send them all the Instagram things to look at, all the podcasts, all the books, everything to read and research, because a year later, everybody's looking at me and they're like, you're not crazy anymore.
Yeah, you can't hide results. It's like I said, particularly when you have such a huge weight loss transformation, no one can deny that. Some people will say you can get a cocaine habit and lose a bunch of weight, but with a cocaine habit, you don't get stronger. You don't come off your hypertension meds. There's all these things that don't really go with that. Did you notice some other just digestion, skin, sleep, libido, anything else that seemed to change for you?
Sleep-wise, I started sleeping a lot better and getting a lot more rest in the amount of time that I slept. I would sleep like 4 to 6 hours and wake up refreshed as if I slept like 12 hours. Skin-wise, my skin's cleared up. I have no more pimples, no body odor. I rarely wear deodorant. I don't sweat anymore. I used to sweat like profusely. Like right now, I'd be dripping if this was last year. There's no more sweat. I tolerate the heat a lot better. And I was taking like a daily Zyrtec for just seasonal allergies pretty much all year round because they would be so bad. And probably about 9-10 months ago, I stopped taking it and I haven't taken one since. And my allergies really have not bothered me since then.
Yeah, you think about just the money you're saving on all these little nuisance things like seasonal allergies and different things that you don't even have to spend money on anymore. So that's another thing people don't talk about when they consider the cost of these things. So that's pretty interesting. What about, so you're going to go back to your doctor for the annual physical in a couple of weeks, and he's going to say, holy cow, I don't even recognize you. He'll order some labs. What is your response going to be if she says, yeah, it's nice you lost weight, but we think all this saturated fat is putting you at risk for heart disease? What are your thoughts about how to deal with that situation?
That I don't know. I don't want to argue with the guy either. He's trying to do his job, but I'll listen to what he says. I'll give my rebuttal back, and I'm just going to continue on the path that I've started. I'm not going to change it.
How long has this person been your physician?
Now about 5-6 years.
Okay. So for the first 5 years, what he was doing wasn't working, obviously. You were still overweight, still sick, still in pain, and now you're not. So it's like, how good of a job was he doing? Right? So
that primarily I'm going to go just so I can get my blood work and just get it down on paper that I went. I really am not going to listen to much of the input that, he's going to have until I can find like maybe a doctor that really supports carnivore diet or in my area that I can go to or something like that, which would be a great help.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know. We have our company Revero is launching very soon. We'll have doctors in all 50 states. So that'll be maybe an option for somebody like you that just wants to just have somebody support them, because it is. And we'll see if your doctor, he was there when you were 320 pounds. So he has to know that, look, you're down 130 pounds, you're off your blood pressure meds, you don't have pain anymore, and all the other things that are clearly much improved. And so it's got to be hard for him to say what you're doing is unhealthy, I would think. But
yeah, I would think that too, but I'm not gonna take that to the bank.
maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised, but we'll see. I would be hopeful, but not expect probably the usual stuff that you mostly hear from a lot of these people. They just don't understand it. They just don't have the knowledge of that stuff. You said you're putting on muscle and stuff like that. You're exercising after a hard day of work. How's that been going? Do you feel like you're stronger now, or it's easier for you to get stronger?
I feel much stronger now, and my duration of being able to work out is increasing more and more. In the beginning, I would walk a little bit with some weight or lift some weights for 5 minutes. And now I'm at like 30 minutes. I want more. It's just craving more and more of work. And I feel much stronger. My arms, from when I was 300 something pounds, my arms are bigger now than they were then. It's just a huge change there.
Yeah, I imagine your wife has had to notice. She probably sees you pretty much every day and probably approves, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, you asked about, I didn't answer the libido question from before. It's been a complete trap. It was wild. And after a couple months, like how high that level went, that's something that you noticed pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to disguise that. Yeah. But that's interesting. And really, that's a sign of health. We're supposed to be a species that breeds, basically. That's what keeps us alive as a species. So that's a good signal. You said the transition was a little rough. Tell me about maybe what happened in the first few months or something. What were the downsides, perhaps?
In the beginning, I was just trying to get off all the sugar I was consuming daily. I would have a coffee with 5-6 sugars in it, a pop or two, like a Coca-Cola, 2 a day, plus whatever dessert at the end of the night and everything like that. Breaking off the sugar was the hardest part. The carbs weren't as hard as getting off the sugar. I had, for a couple of weeks, I stopped having pop. I stopped putting sugar in my coffee, and I would have 2 Oreos every night. And then after a week, I'd have 1 Oreo. And then the week after that, I had like half of one. And every week I just try to give myself just a little bit until I was completely off. And once I was off, I felt so good after that week of, I went through like a keto flu once I stopped eating the sugar completely. I went through a keto flu for a week. It was 2 days, and then I couldn't take it anymore. So I had a couple pieces of bread. I felt okay the next day, but it was okay sick feeling the next day. And then the day after, I was like, I got to do this. I got to break through. I'm going to feel like junk for a couple of days, but it's going to be worth it. And once I got out of keto flu, that was probably about a month in, I started feeling real good at that point. But that first month was rough. And I give everybody the same recommendation to just, if they haven't done keto or they're not doing keto, maybe try getting into keto first and then transition in so you can break off the sugar, because I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah, certainly from a lot of, and that's how I was over time. That's how I did. I was on a ketogenic diet for several years before there was no such thing as carnivore at the time. I was the guy that named it that. There were people eating 0 carb, and I ended up doing that. But what about, obviously you don't have any fiber in your diet, so you can't have bowel movements, right? You haven't had a bowel movement in about a year, right? Something like that. Is that right?
Because it's clogged up. It's great. I save on toilet paper. No, I go every day still. It's after the first couple weeks of getting used to it, and then realizing how much fat and water you need to eat a day. And once you get the balance right, you go to the bathroom, you feel right, and it's real good.
Yeah, so it's like there's people that think you're always constipated. That's not the case. There's some transition stuff that occurs initially when you get off the fiber and all the other stuff. What about, so you don't count calories. What about like hydration? Do you do any, do you salt, not salt, electrolytes, things like that?
I heavily salt the food, and then every morning I'll take like a 16-ounce bottle of water and I'll take the cap off, fill the cap off with the Redmond sea salt, throw it in there, shake it up, and drink that bottle. And that's my electrolyte hit for the morning. And if I do a lot of activity and I do sweat a lot, or say we're outside all day, I'll have another bottle like that just to keep refreshed. And I've noticed that's kept me without not being dehydrated at all this whole time. And
despite heavily salting your food, chugging a couple bottles of salt water a day, blood pressure is still good, right?
Yeah, blood pressure is better than good. Right now, if I were to take it, probably between 115 over 70. is my riding number right now.
Yeah, no one can complain about that. That's interesting. Do you find that as far as you said you used to have all these sugar cravings, and maybe some people call it sugar addiction. Do you believe sugar addiction is real? Do you think that's a real thing?
100%. 100% sugar addiction is real. Carb addiction is real. I think once you get off of it, you realize how addicting it is. And then you start, I'll look at a cake, and I can feel sick just by looking at that cake, like what that's going to do to me now. Donuts, any of that stuff that I would eat till I wanted to puke before. If I look at it now, I feel sick from it because I know what it'll do to me and how fast I can get stuck to eating it again.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times when you're on that, so I guess maybe kind of like the DASH, lean meat, low fat, low sodium diet, was it hard to resist all the sugary stuff when you're on that type of diet?
On the low sodium diet, there was no sugar restriction. Yeah. They never told me don't eat sugar. They just told me don't eat salt. And as soon as I stopped eating sugar is when my blood pressure leveled back down. So it was the reverse of what I was being told, which is it's angering because for a year or two, I was trying to fight this by not eating salt. And instead I was supplementing, probably was craving sugar more because I wasn't getting the salt. And I wanted something and I was eating a ton more sugar. It was messing me up even worse.
Yeah. So by going low fat, by going low salt, it actually caused you to eat more sugar, you think?
Between the sugar and all the carbs, I was eating a lot more bread, a lot more rice, pasta, things like that. It's all turning to sugar. Everything, it was just sugar. And that, I think that sugar plays a bigger, in my mind, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but in my mind, sugar plays a way bigger impact than blood pressure and heart health than salt does. Salt has just been beneficial to me more than anything.
Yeah, you say you're not a doctor, but you probably have more insight than 95% of the doctors when it comes to this topic, which is funny. There is, what was I going to say? Oh, so you won't be surprised to find out there's a recent study that just came out that compared the DASH diet, the low salt diet, to a very low carb diet. And guess which one did better for blood pressure? The low carb one, right? So that just came out in the literature. And so that's what you've experienced by going on. You're basically on a very low to zero carb diet and your blood pressure is normalized. What do you as far as when you look around and do you know, like when you go out, like maybe go to the grocery store or go out and see people eating just problematic in food and you see how maybe they're obese, maybe they're sick. Does it just set in your mind? You're like, if they would just change their food, it would change everything. Does that ever occur to you? Do you see that?
Sometimes I walk into the grocery store and I see the way people are loading their carts, and I just wish the grocery store would close down because people are walking right past the meat and they're walking right to the cereal aisle, buy three boxes for $10 and they're just loading up on cereal. It's going to be the answer that they're looking for. And just all the junk that's in every aisle, and you watch people stock up a cart, or we go out to dinner and people focus on the sides over the steak. Oh, I'll get a petite filet, but I'll get a baked potato, mac and cheese, and all. And I'm like, no, just get a big steak and just be done. What are you doing? But it's become like upsetting. And I never want to, in my head, I never want to get back there. I would never want to be that person again. Because now it like disgusts me. It's bad to say, but yeah, it pretty much disgusts me now.
Yeah. Do you feel like you were misled maybe growing up by hearing what you're supposed to eat? Or maybe, I don't know if you paid much attention to that, but do you feel somewhat like I was given the wrong information?
Yeah. The basic food pyramid, everything that we were told to eat. You're supposed to eat Cheerios for your cholesterol, and you're supposed to eat this for that. And you're supposed to have canola oil, and you're supposed to eat just chicken and no sodium, but nobody says anything about corn syrup or all the sugar and everything, the sugar that they put in everything, or all the fast foods and the drinks and liquor and everything. There's no kickback on that. On a Saturday night, I would drink 12 beers and have 5-6 shots. Nobody would say a word to me. But if we go out to dinner and I have a big steak, what are you doing? It doesn't, why aren't you asking me about the liquor I'm consuming? Why are you asking about the steak I'm consuming instead?
How much of your diet now is cooked at home versus in the past? Were you eating out more and going to fast food places and buying stuff out of packages a lot more relative to now? Do you cook most things today?
Today, it's 99% cooked at home. Unless we're out of town or we go out for a special occasion dinner or something like that, we'll eat out at a restaurant. Other than that, everything I meal prep for 2-3 days at a time. So I have no excuse. Before that, I was probably cooking at home. We're probably getting food from home like 30 to 40% of the time, like home cooked food. Everything else was either prepackaged or getting lunch out every day at work, going out to dinner or ordering pizzas once a week and all that. Make a frozen pizza at home and sit there and eat the whole thing like a jerk. But
yeah, and that's what a lot of people do. That's what a lot of people's diet is. And we've gone from, because everything's more convenient, but is it inconvenient for you to cook at home now? Do you find it's taking up so much time that you don't have time to do it, or is it pretty easy?
No, cooking at home, especially cooking meat, it's so quick. You need 20 minutes. You can cook a couple days worth of food. You have food to eat. You don't have to worry about it. Even if you're going to cook every day, I have a barbecue at work too. So if for one day I don't have meat, I'll stop at the grocery store on the way in. I'll get meat. I'll barbecue here at work. It takes 20 minutes of time. It's the same amount of time as going to the McDonald's drive-thru, getting there, waiting in line, coming back and sitting down and eating. And you have fresh food that's good for you with no issues.
Yeah. Do any of the customers that come into your shop ever, I don't know, they comment on anything or see, because maybe they've seen you over the years or anything like that?
Yeah. A lot, everybody that, because the service-based business as a mechanic, you don't see people daily. People like once a year, twice a year. People that I haven't seen in over a year, they come in and their first question is, am I sick? Which it sucks to hear, to get asked that, but that's everybody's favorite question to ask me if I'm sick. And then I can't believe the weight you've lost. Some people don't recognize me. People that have only seen me maybe like once or twice before, and they see me now, they'll reintroduce themselves. And I'm like, I'm the only person here. There's nobody else here. It's still me. And people can't believe it.
Yeah, so you would have committed a crime when you were the big fat guy and then no one would say, that wasn't him, it was some other guy. You're unrecognizable. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. As far as do you have any sort of goals or plans, or now that you're not sick, like when you were overweight and sick and everything hurt and you had heart problems and blood pressure problems, what was your outlook for life then versus your outlook for life now?
My outlook for life then was sad. Every day I was thinking about like, when am I going to get really sick? Am I going to have a heart attack? Is something going to happen terribly? It was bad. Days I didn't want to do anything on the weekends. I get home on the weekends. I just wanted to like sleep and lay down and just try to recover from the week. And now I don't stop moving all weekend. We wake up still the same time, 5 a.m. We're out all day long, all day, every day. It's a giant change in mood and life because you don't see an end now. Now is what else can we do tomorrow? What else can we do next week? What can we plan for here and there? It's taken like a sad, depressed life into a very positive, happy outlook on everything.
Yeah, so you put more life into your life. Before, it's just kind of waiting around and can't do much, and so it's good to hear. What, as far as, we see a lot of, I don't know about Chicago, but like New York, they're trying to push these plant-based diets on the whole city. I don't know if Chicago will follow suit. Do you feel any concern about legislatures making meat super expensive, or you have to be rationed, or any of that concern you?
The way they're trying to push things, I think there is a threat to it. Probably going to make it either super expensive or, like you said, or ration it. It's probably going to be there are two ways to try to get people to stop eating red meat. Everywhere you go, there's plant-based everywhere. You go to the hot dog stand on the corner, they have plant-based hot dogs now. It's like this is a hot dog spot. Like what? You're supposed to sell Vienna beef hot dogs. They're not supposed to be plant-based hot dogs here. That doesn't make sense. And everywhere you go, they're just pushing it and pushing it. And from what I see, nobody's eating it because the grocery store shelves are full. And I don't know anybody that eats this stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what their end game with it is, but hopefully nothing happens and everything just stays the way it is.
Yeah. You've never been tempted to eat that stuff. Have you ever tried it? I've never have. I'm just wondering if you tried it.
It looks like mud. It just looks like mud. I don't know. You go to the grocery store and they got it like standing upright and all of it's sludged down to the bottom. I don't know how it looks appetizing to anybody like that, but yeah, fair enough.
Let me think. Do you participate on social media at all, or do you have time? I don't know. You may be too busy with your work and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I use social media a lot for my work to advertise my business and stuff. But I do, it's pretty much that, and to follow all health, to read up and listen on health things daily.
Okay.
That's all I use it for now.
Okay. Have you ever commented? You're probably not on your business page talking about your diet or anything like that. Do you at all?
Not on my business page, on my personal page. I'll comment on stuff about my diet, and I have my before and afters I post on my Instagram and stuff like that. Everybody's in disbelief. It's cool. It's cool to see.
What is do you mind sharing your Instagram for your personal one?
Yeah, let me read the name. It's a TRELOS_RIZOS.
Trelos, RIZOS. There we go. Demetrios Rizos. Yeah. Okay. I'll follow you on there to see.
The first picture is the good before and after.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. You were a big guy.
Yeah.
You're smiling though. You look pretty happy in that picture, but maybe you weren't.
Everybody tells me I was a happy fat guy. Now I'm the angry skinny guy.
Angry skinny guy. Yeah. Interesting. And as far as that, you get a lot of like negativity thrown your way on social media at all?
Through the diet stuff, no. A lot of positive stuff.
Yeah.
People, I get messages like, I like that in that picture, I put a couple hashtags in it, and I got 3-4 messages from people that are asking me how I did it and if I could help them because they're looking to do it too. Just random people. Well, yeah, I'll help you out. Send them a couple messages and try to point them in the right direction on what to do, how to start, and how to get pretty much addicted to feeling good, not feeling like crap anymore.
Yeah, that's a good summary there. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so as far as, okay, let's say someone made you the king, right? You're the king of or the president or something like that, and you had to determine the U.S. dietary guidelines. What would you say? We've got the food pyramid. I think it's a horrible thing. I think there's better ways to do it. But if somebody said, hey, what should people eat? What would you tell them?
1 to 2 good meals a day of fatty beef or lamb. Either of those two, and it's going to be the best diet.
Okay.
It's the best thing. It's the best thing. It's the best tasting thing. The best thing for you. Keep it. A meal at the end of the day, a meal is just fuel for your body, and it's not supposed to be a treat constantly. It's just meant for you to keep going. So that's what people. If I was king, that's what people would have to come to realize, that the food is just fuel for your body to keep going. And it's not meant for you to sit there and lick the plate all the time and take pictures of it and put weird dressings and sauces all over everything. Just eat it and go and keep moving.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I looked at, Brazil has a national guidelines, and it basically says, don't eat processed food, cook your own meals, and eat with people you love. And I think that to me is about as deep. If you're cooking at home, you're not eating processed garbage. Gosh, that's so much better than what we have, this prescriptive type of thing. I'll tell you what, is there anything we missed? Is there anything else you want to share that I didn't get to share? What's the name of your shop for people that are looking to get their car worked on or something like that, if you don't mind?
It's a Chicago Auto Center, and we're based out of Schaumburg, Illinois.
Schaumburg. Okay. Did we miss anything you want to share?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome, man. Demetrios, it's been a really nice pleasure chatting with you. And I was going to ask you, because I think you said you're maybe Greek. That sounds like Demetrios. It's a Greek name. Yeah. So lamb is a pretty big. I'm going to go to Greece this summer for the first time.
You're going to love it.
I'm going to get some lamb there probably, right?
You're going to love it. Yeah, you're going to love the diet there. It's real good. The food, if you eat pork, there's a lot of pork. It's just phenomenal. You're going to love it.
Have you been?
Where are you going?
I'm going to be going for sure to Athens and Marathon. And then I'm not sure from there, maybe an island or two or something like that. So.
Yeah, the food is good. Everywhere you go, it's fresh. That's the thing. It's fresh food. It's fresh cooked. Everywhere you go, it's just made fresh on the grill. They have McDonald's and things like that around, but they're not everywhere. Everybody's eating at regular fresh. You go eat there for the summer, you eat like crazy, and you come back and you've lost weight. Between the sun on you all day, going swimming every day, and just that good, clean food that they have.
Awesome. I'll tell you what, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. I know you're at work, so I don't want to take up any more of your time, but good luck to you. And there's one thing I mentioned, you lost 130 pounds. It's interesting. I'm on some of these other social media platforms, on Twitter, and there must be 20 guys, big guys that are like 400 pounders that are all on carnivore, and they're all kicking butt. They're all losing weight. So this seems to work for a lot of people.
For the heavy weight loss, it's phenomenal. My mom today was here doing some paperwork. She looked at me and she's like, I still can't believe it's 130 pounds in a little bit over a year. And I'm like, it worked. It works. It's going to continue to work. I got a little bit more to go. I'm not going to stop. And every day my body gets a little bit better than it was the day before. And that's the goal. this is to be around as long as I can for the kids, for my wife, and just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Demetrios, thank you so much. Appreciate it. The rest of you guys that popped in here, thanks for joining us. I know it's an odd hour for us, but have a great one, and we'll look forward to releasing this soon, okay?
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.